Good morning, America. My name is Craig Bowden, and I am your Marine Vet for Freedom and candidate for Utah's 1st Congressional District for the U.S. House of Representatives. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about one of the policies I would seek to enact once elected. Now, if you agree, please spread the word, because this is something that I feel needs to happen, and that is basically that Congress has forgotten that they are a servant to the people and have an entitlement mentality that they think that they are somehow superior to who we are, and they've just plain and simply forgotten that they have a job to do, and that it's not about perks, it's not about power, but most that are in office do feel that way. So, first and foremost, I've talked a little bit about term limits. That is one thing that I would seek to enact because, plain and simply, there's nothing that I can do as a voter in Utah other than maybe donate to another candidate to affect a candidate in, say, New York, California, any of the other states in our union. I'm not allowed to vote them out. Now, by initiating term limits in Congress, both the House and the Senate, this would actually take care of that, because there would be a constitutional requirement that states that they're only allowed to serve for so many years, so many terms. This also opens up the field to younger generations like my own. Because right now you have people who have been in Congress for a long time. I mean, you can name the senator or representative, and most of them are going to be there for over 10 years. Now, when they continue to run, it is very difficult to defeat an incumbent in an election. So the newer generations have a more difficult time running against establishment candidates and establishment incumbents, because they're so rooted into their seat. They have the backing, everything. So this would actually open it up to where new ideas are coming out of the woodworks. So that's just another reason why I've been promoting term limits. Now, according to a poll that was taken, about 68% of the American people do want term limits on Congress. And it's for similar reasons there was term limits initiated on the President of the United States after Franklin Delano Roosevelt held a total of 4 terms. Now, he didn't quite finish his 4th. He unfortunately died in office. But he was enacting some policies that the American people did not like, that Congress didn't like, and that the Senate didn't like. And so they decided that it was time to go ahead and limit the power of the presidency with term limits. I feel that it is now time for it to happen with Congress as well. Now, another thing that I'd like to do to remind Congress that they are beholden to the people is there needs to be something done on the time spent home. Because essentially right now, it's kind of your own program when you go home to see constituents, when you're in Washington, D.C., and there's no real plan. So what I would like to see is, for say, 3 weeks out of the month, they're in Washington, D.C., or one of the weeks is allotted for the travel time to go back home. So they're actually doing work in D.C. and not missing any of the votes, missing any of the debates. They're able to work while they're there for the couple weeks that they're assigned to be in Washington, D.C. Now, the other week, they need to be home with their constituency. They need to be talking to the people that put them in office. because there seems to be a really big disconnect between Washington, D.C. and the people. So by doing something like this, it would ensure that they are home at a specific time, they are in Washington, D.C. for a specific time, and this would apply to all of Congress, so that everybody's on the same page. Now, if you move on, some of the things that I'd also like to see done, one of them is I would like to see the Congressional Pension cut, and I mean entirely. I don't feel that it's appropriate for taxpayers to basically pay for a senator or a congressman's retirement. Because essentially the way that the program works is they contribute to essentially what it would be similar to a 401k. It's called the Thrift Savings Plan. And they can deduct whatever is according to the law. And then up to 5% of that is matched with taxpayer dollars. I don't find that as appropriate. That is not what the American people should be doing. We should not be having to pay for the retirement of these senators and congressmen, especially when you take into account that many of them are considered independently wealthy and don't even need another source of income. This is one way that Congress would actually help gaining back the trust of the people. Initiating actions like these, they would be seen as taking steps to not only eliminate deficit spending, debt, things along those lines, but it would put them on a more equal playing field with the rest of the country. Now, you'll see people on all sides saying that we need equality, we need fairness, but what is your pension plan like? Most people don't even have a pension plan, and they are actually having to scrounge and save whatever they can in hopes that they'll have enough to get by once they retire. But see, lifelong politicians don't have that problem because they're going to get paid that pension. And unfortunately, they're taking money from hardworking taxpayers to put into their own retirement. Now see, as a congressman, one of the things that I would be doing, on top of proposing such an idea, until it is actually voted on and passes, I would not subscribe to this pension. I don't feel that it's right. There's absolutely no reason why my retirement should be funded by you. There's a lot of perks that also happen. You can take one example, and you can see how they find themselves being entitled. On average, every year, about $37,000 is spent on congressional haircuts from the barbershop that Congress has. Now, that's your money going to do their hair. Now, if you want to get your hair cut, if you want to get it styled, if you want to get it dyed, you actually have to go reach into your wallet, swipe your card, or use some cash. And where I'm from, it's probably about anywhere between $10 and $13. $37,000 was spent on representatives and senators to get their hair done. I don't find that as acceptable in the least. Especially when you look at the salaries. If I'm not mistaken, right now, the average salary of a congressman is about $152,000. Now, granted, some of that's going to go towards housing, things of that nature. But again, most of them are independently wealthy. Some of the older ones who worked in government before, such as, I can't think of a name right now, but a lot of them are already collecting some retirement benefits from where they have worked before. They're also taking in the average of $152,000 a year. And those who have been successful in business, for instance, former Senator Kerry, who married into money, is considered independently wealthy, they were still collecting all those wages, and they were getting those free haircuts. But they aren't really free, are they? Because you're paying for them. Things like that need to end. The American people should not be having to pay for perks. There are things that need to be done and steps that need to be taken to ensure that Congress is for the people, not against them, and to regain the trust of the American people. This is just a couple of the ideas that I have, and I would hope that you would support me in this. Now, if you do wish to support, there are many ways to do so. Obviously, spreading the news, such as this video. You can contribute to my campaign by going to www.craig4congress.org, or you can also support my campaign by simply texting my last name, Bowden, that's Bowden, to the number 33733. But please get these kind of messages out. That alone is going to help change the way that things are run. It's time for the government to work for the people, not us work for their haircuts or their retirements. Thank you for listening. God bless.